Marisa Peer, thank you so much for being here with Global Woman Community. I don't need to introduce you, a best-selling author, the founder of RTT, the pioneer of the biggest movement for women empowerment. I am good enough, and international speaker, a famous psychologist, a therapist, healer, everything that someone needs to stand in the power and give that power back to people and community and the world. It's all on you. I don't know how you have done it. Maybe you will tell us a little bit. I know you're going to teach us a lot, but before we go to your presentation, I would love to know a little bit about your upbringing, because I know it hasn't been that easy. And I love when you open in such a nice, vulnerable way to say that, hey, coming from a dysfunctional family doesn't mean that it's sad, because you do not come from your parents, you come through your parents. And there is a reason why maybe you had some challenges in your childhood. So tell us a little bit about your childhood and how did that shape you to become who you are today?
I wouldn't change any of my childhood, certainly, because it actually let me just move my chair. I'm in a castle. You'd think it'd be cold in this castle. It is so hot. I'm like dripping, but never mind. So my childhood, I want to say, I wouldn't change any of it, not the worst moments, because it really made me who I am. So I came from a family, and really I could never have a pity party for myself, because I know people have had a childhood a million times worse. As a therapist, I've seen things that make your eyes pop out on stalks. So my childhood was dysfunctional, but it was perfectly copable. My father was a very eminent head teacher, but like many people in the career where they care for children, his energy was really about caring for other people. He was paid to look after other people's children who just worshipped him. So when he came home and we didn't worship him, he didn't quite get that. So my father was very academic, loved it. He said every day, what life is all about is helping people. What life is about helping people. That was his message. It was his reason for living. And he certainly showed me that helping people in life gives you immense joy. My father on his deathbed said, I've had the best job in the world. I have no regrets. My mother and father had a very different death and a very different life. My father was deeply fulfilled by work. It was his everything, and it gave him joy. My mother was very beautiful and deeply unfulfilled by everything. Beauty, children, marriage, they all left her deeply unfulfilled. And of course, when you have two parents like that, you look at them both, because you learn what you live. You cannot help but learn what you live. So I very early on learned something. If you have a job that is engrossing and fulfilling, it takes away pain. That wasn't an if, and it was when. So I was from a very early age programmed to believe that marriages are terrible, relationships are awful, but the great job is the balm. It's the soul for the pain. Needless to say, I had a lot of relationships that were not great, but I always had careers that were engrossing. One day I talked about my brother and sister, and I said, we both saw the same thing. My mother would throw herself down the stairs. She was hysterical. That was how she operated. She'd been evacuated in the war from the city to the country, and she learned very quickly that if she was ill and refused to eat, she got a lot of attention and she got sent home. I'm going to tell you in a minute about something I used called foreplay, the 4 roles we play in order to. My mother's role was the sick one, sick and drama. She loved that. She'd go to, I've never seen anyone go to hospital and light up like a Christmas tree. She'd have a great job, and then it soothes the pain. My sister said, I learned, marry someone who loves you more than you love them. They'll never step over your body when you throw yourself down the stairs and go to work. They'll stay home because they love you more. My brother said, I learned, never marry someone who's beautiful. They're hysterical. It's all drama. So 3 kids watched exactly the same scene. Mum throwing herself down, this dad picking up his briefcase, stepping over her body, going to work and coming home as late as he could. He went to work as early as he could, came home as late as he could, worked weekends. And we all saw it. And I thought, oh yeah, get a great job. My sister said, never marry someone who loves you less than my brother said, never marry someone. We all saw the same thing differently. And that was really my basis for going into therapy, because I realized it isn't what you see, it's what you make of what you see. And what you make of what you see can be changed at any time. And my sister and I had to work very hard to undo that belief that all relationships end, they never last, they cause you. My sister had to undo that belief that if you marry someone who loves you more, well, that's not great either, because wouldn't you want to love them as much? So my childhood looked normal. I literally lived in a house with a white picket fence around it in a beautiful village in Cambridgeshire. Beautiful mother, academic father. We weren't poor. We weren't rich, but we weren't poor. And it looked lovely from the outside. From the inside, it was very dysfunctional. But it made me really interested in what happens when children's needs aren't met. My needs were not met. And I'm going to talk to you later on today about how when your needs aren't met, you give them up or you give them away, and how both of those things don't work. But it also gave me a fascination in dysfunctional families and how to get over it. And it made me very independent. I went to college, I left home. My brother left at 16, I left at 18 and never really went back. But then later I got a wonderful relationship with my parents, because I understood that no parent wakes up and goes, where's Google? Sure, I can Google how to ruin my kid's life forever. My father thought my childhood was idyllic, because his was. And so I later had a wonderful relationship with both my parents. It was beautiful and wonderful because, of course, I didn't need them then. And that's the great thing. When you stop needing your parents to love you, you can function as all adults together, not the kid going, please love me, even when you're 42. And yeah, now I look back and think it was certainly interesting. You know, if your life was a massive clock, your childhood is the first 9 minutes. You've got 51 more minutes to have a great life. And actually, Nigella Lawson said something once that I thought was so profound. She said, I've seen people ruined by a perfect childhood. For me, nothing could ever be as bad again. Imagine if your childhood is so amazing, everything is just for me, nothing could ever be as bad. The first 9 minutes were awful, and the next 51 are up to me. You know, we can't control our childhood, but we can control what we think about it, how it shaped us, how it influenced. And we can say, hey, that was only the first bit of the clock. Now I can decide the next bit. When you hear things like your school days are the best days of your life, no, they're not. It's all downhill from when no, it isn't. Later on, I go, hey, I'm going to give you a great life. Here's your great life. The first bit's amazing, and then it's all downhill. Actually, it gets better and better every year. I got married when I was 50. I never would have imagined that the best bit of my life would be right now. It's not true that the best bit is when you're young. Certainly not when you're a kid. You can't even choose what to eat, what to wear, when to go to bed, what to watch on TV. You get so much freedom when you're a grown up, but the freedom is in here to decide, what does it mean? You know, Wayne Dyer, who I loved, had a horrific child. He was brought up in care. Tony Robbins had 5 different parents. Oprah Winfrey had a baby at 14. She was molested by several people, and yet they all said, hey, I couldn't influence the beginning, but I have vast power to influence the next bit.
That's so true, Marisa, and it's incredible. And thank you for sharing this, because I remember when I started my work as a psychologist, it was so hard because I was coming from the old school where I just asked a question, and I ended up crying with my clients. But later on, when I took myself in a spiritual journey and I saw the holistic view and everything that you shared, is incredible. You know what? It's so good that we have to go through all these challenges, all these adversities, because many times now when women come to me and they start crying, or they open up and say, oh, my business is not working for this reason, or I couldn't meet this deadline for this reason, or I say, look, ladies, we can't change the beginning. I mean, well, now I think we can, but at least we have the power, as you said, we can change the end. But you know what? Even the beginning, we can change it, because when I started sharing my story, which I was trying to hide before, it felt like every time I share my story, it's more beautiful, it's more better, it's more powerful, and it's still the same story, but the meaning that I put in the story and the gratitude that I have for everything that I've been going through, from the abuse to another abuse, it has helped me to now empathize and be softer and nicer with myself and other people. So you're saying that it is very important that we go back and visit the past, not stay there, but visit the past, return it and turn it and reprogram in a way that we give the meaning that empowers us, because we have the power on that. We have also the power to change not only the end as an adult, of course we have power, as you said, but also we can change the story of our childhood, the story of the relation with our parents, the story of who we were before and the dreams that we had. So
because I hear this story a lot from my clients. I was wanted. My parents tried to terminate me. I was the fifth girl, they wanted a boy. I was the fourth boy, they were desperate for a girl. And I was saying, look, they may not have wanted you, but somebody wanted you. The universe wanted you to be a girl or a boy. It wanted you to be you. And even if your parents didn't appear to love you or want you, we only come through our parents, not from them. And the universe, the universe puts you here and it will support you. I see people every day go, hey, I sold my house. I've had 10 rounds of IVF. I wanted a baby. I never had one. And you think, well, here's these people who want a baby so much, don't have one, and others who seem to have 8, drag them up, treat them terribly. I could never work that out, how that could be, except we only come through our parents. We're not like them. They're really not like us either. But everything is a reframe. You have to reframe. And you just talked about the shame of your story. So last year I began to tell it. I've never told anyone before. So when I was pregnant, I was very, very stressed. And my mother took me to one side and said, when I was having you, I was so stressed that I didn't know whose baby you were. So I was having an affair with your father's best friend. I was in love with him. I didn't really love your dad. And when I was having you, of course, my father knew. She said, oh, yes, he knew we were having threesomes. It was kind of a weird thing to hear your parents had threesomes. That my mother, the person my mother loved, moved in with my mum and dad in this cottage in the middle of nowhere. He was a head teacher. Who would have thought he'd gone home to these threesomes in the swinging 50s, but they did. And she told me that when I was born, she was desperate that I would be his baby, this Indian guy who she loved, because she wanted to keep, he was going home to an arranged marriage. They could never be together. But she prayed that I would be his, so she'd have a bit of him. And she even picked this name, Candy, K-H-A, and it's going to be my name, should I be in his? So my dad and his best friend and my mum all went to the maternity hospital. Such a weird story. And all stayed in the middle of nowhere, so none of my relatives would know. And when I was born, I was very much my father's child, blue eyes, white skin. My mother said she turned her face when she cried for a whole week because I was the wrong baby. She didn't want me. She wanted an Indian baby. And she said, I was so upset, but your father picked Marisa. Raja had picked Candy. So I called you Marisa Candy. I would never have that middle name. Even at 5, I wouldn't say it. I wouldn't write it. I wouldn't accept it. And Marisa is kind of an unusual name in the north of England. And so when she told me about this, I had this terrible shame. Oh my God, my parents are having a threesome. I was the wrong baby. But later I thought, actually, I should be proud of that. Imagine when I was born, 2 guys were fighting over me. When I was in the womb, I was wanted by 2 men. I spent my 20s feeling so unlovable, so undesirable, so not enough. And if I'd have known then, wow, when I was conceived, 2 guys wanted me. When I was being carried, 2 guys. When I was born, 2 guys were there wanting me. So I just reframed it from the shame to, wow, lucky me. Even when I was born, I had 2 guys who wanted to own me as their child. And it changed my relationship with men because I thought, oh no, I can make that whatever I want to make it. Because it's up to us to make the story whatever we want to make it. It's a bit like when I meet self-made people. I love self-made people because they came from nothing and they worked their way up. And you should be proud. They didn't go to school. That's amazing. And in fact, many years ago, I was working on a show as the therapist. And my producer to one side, one of the celebrities, her agent is here. And they've also got a therapist client, and they've tried to get you fired and your job, but we'll never fire you because we love you, but we should let you know that she's going to probably have a go at you. And she did. She said to me, hey, do you know my client, Dr. X? I said, yes. She's lovely. She goes, well, she's got a degree, Have you got a degree? I said, no. She goes, she's a doctor. I said, no. She said, what are you then? I said, well, I'm very successful. I don't have a degree, but you know what I've got? I've got lots of money and I've got thousands of happy, satisfied, in fact, millions of happy, satisfied. I don't have a degree. I'm not a doctor, but I got something else. And when I told her that, it wasn't to make her feel bad, but she was trying to make me feel bad. Have you got a degree? No, I got lots of happy clients though. And afterwards she called me and said, hey, I've got a job for you with Sony. I think you're better for it than I. Don't tell Dr. Give me a commission. She gave me so much work because when she said that, I didn't let it in. I thought, oh, you're trying to make me feel small, but you can't do that. It's a bit like if this was a seesaw. Here's the Asian and here's me. But she wanted this to happen. She wanted to diminish me while elevating someone else. But it's my choice to say, no, you cannot diminish me unless I agree with you. And I'm just never going to do that. In life, people who, this is someone and this is you, many people try to elevate themselves or diminish you. So that happens. But you have to give them the power to them. And if you don't, they can't do it, because the most important words you'll ever hear are the words you say. And I've never said, hey, I don't have a degree. I always said, hey, I've got a great job. I've got a wonderful job. I have no need to be a doctor to do the job I'm doing. I'm glad I'm not a doctor, because doctors look for the medical reason behind depression or anxiety or stress, and I look for the emotional reason. Let me say just one thing. The way you feel about everything is only two things: the pictures you make in your head and the words you form, which you can change at any time at all.
But why? That's incredible. Marisa, thank you so much. Everybody I can see is so excited and blown away by what you shared. But why some people really struggle to create that big picture in their mind, or to realize they want more, they desire more, because everything starts from the desire. So what can we do to increase our ability to desire more, to want more, to think big, to feel more worth? So where do we start? What would be the first step to start?
I think a lot of people have this belief, it's so hard to change, it's such hard work to change, people can't change, but that's not true. It's easy to change. It can be incredibly easy to change. It's just as easy to change as it is to stay the same. And then we have another belief, human beings are so fragile. No, they're powerful beyond belief. I think it's these two things. We're told that we can't change, that change is very difficult, and that is not true. It's very easy to change. And we're told that we're fragile people, easily broken, but humans aren't fragile. They are strong and resilient. If you think what our ancestors went through, going through America on a wagon train, having 18 babies, living with no sanitation, not having any heat. I last year walked through this part of Scotland where people lived under the street. I've forgotten what it was called, but they lived in well, I don't know what you call living under the street, I guess in the sewers. And you wonder how they ever survived. They had no water to wash their hands, no sanitation. It was amazing. And yet they did survive. They had a lot of kids. And so we've got to stop believing we're fragile and believe we are strong and resilient and capable. And we're like a big rubber ball. We can bounce back and bounce back. And if you believe you have the bounce back factor, I'm going to tell you a very quick story to make sense of this. And many years ago, I saw a girl who'd been sectioned into a mental hospital. And she said to me, I've got no coping skills. My mother couldn't even cope with a packet of potato chips. She goes, I can't stand the noise of crunching. I can't stand the noise of you opening those chips. They never went to the cinema or the theater. They couldn't even go to a supermarket because the mother had light sensitivity, noise sensitivity. And the mother's favorite words were, I can't cope. Imagine growing up with that. So now my patients say, I can't cope. And I said, but that isn't true. I want you to say every day, I have phenomenal coping skills. Just say it, say it, say it. I want you to imagine your hot toast and the words are butter. If you put butter onto hot toast, the toast cannot reject the butter. It has to let it in. If you put balm on dry skin, your skin can't reject the balm. It sinks in. So words are balm. So think of the butter as your words and you are the toast. And you're going to say every day, I have extraordinary, phenomenal coping skills. And she said, that changed my entire life. I said it, said it, said it. First, I rejected it. Then I remember thinking, oh, this is like butter. I can't reject it. And then my mind got so used to it. And then I noticed, oh, I have got coping. Look at me. I'm actually in a noisy supermarket and it doesn't bother me. I'm in a noisy place. And I feel just fine because she gave herself a different message. I can't cope became I have phenomenal coping skills. You see, your mind doesn't know or care what you tell it. In fact, let me show you. Everyone put their hand in front of their face exactly like I'm doing. Just do nothing more than that. And simply close your eyes. Just for a couple of minutes, please close your eyes. And I want you to simply imagine that you're holding in your hand half of a big, fat, juicy lemon. I want you to take a deep breath and I want you to inhale that gorgeous lemon smell. I want you to squeeze that lemon so hard that lemon drops through in the surface. I want you to stick out your tongue, literally stick out your tongue and lick off those drops of lemon. Open your mouth as wide as you can, still with your eyes closed, and shove that entire half a lemon into your mouth and start biting, sucking, and chewing. Go ahead and eat that lemon. Bite into the flesh. Bite into every segment. Suck out that lemon juice. Swish it around your mouth. Suck every segment of the lemon. Suck it, bite it, chew it. Swirl it around until your taste buds pucker and swell, and you begin to pump out saliva. And now simply open your eyes. And here's a question that you cannot get wrong. You can only get it right. So please join in. If there was a lemon, raise your hand. You can't get this wrong, whatever you do. And if there wasn't a lemon, raise your hand. And if you never raise your hand, whatever the question is, raise your hand. You see, you are both correct. There wasn't a lemon. That's true. But there was, it was in your mind. Your mind didn't go, come on, there's no lemon. You pumped out saliva to a thought. If you can think about a lemon and make saliva, what else can you do when you think a thought? Because your thoughts are yours and your thoughts are yours to change. And we're so busy trying to change feelings and behaviors, but here's how it works. First a thought, then a feeling, then a behavior. Thought comes first. Let me do it that way. Thought, feeling, behavior. Thought first, then feeling, then behavior. So if you just change the thought, you change the feeling and the behavior. My little ghosty come home used to get to the doorway to go to school and then come back. And I said, what have you remembered? She goes, I've remembered my book, my swimming clothes, my lunch. I go, that's good. You've remembered. Every time you get to the door, I never say, what have you forgotten now? I just say, what have you remembered? Just one little switch. What have you remembered or what have you forgotten? She began to say, Mummy, I've got such a great memory. Because when I get to the stairs, my mind remembers. See, didn't forget it, remember, because I'd say, what have you remembered? It's so many little things we can change. Here's one of my favorites. Stop saying sorry. Sorry, I'm late. Sorry, I can't understand the computer here. Sorry, I'm sick. Sorry, I'm so difficult. Sorry. Say, thank you so much for waiting for me. Thank you for helping me with this computer. Thank you for being there when I was sick. Thank you for being patient. Thank you for caring. Stop saying sorry unless you need to apologize.
So what I was saying, you reminded me when I moved to this country, I know very little English and I was struggling, but I really had that ambition to move myself out of the comfort zone. And I had that pattern saying sorry for my English. Every time that I would go on stage or I would be in public or I would try to say something to get out of the comfort zone, I would say, sorry for my English, sorry for my English. Until one day, a lovely English woman would come to me and say, come here, you never ever say that again. And it really, really helped me because from the moment subconsciously, I started accepting that my English is good enough. I should not say sorry. Suddenly, I started flowing. I started having a good English. So what you just mentioned is very, very powerful. So why we have kind of inherited in us, especially women, we have this, we feel guilty, we feel apologetic, we feel like we should. We had a woman in our community a few years ago. She came on stage. She was from the Asian background. And she said, I come from a culture that I keep saying, sorry for my existence, sorry because I live. So as women, somehow we have that feeling like we are not good enough. We are not worth, we should say sorry that we exist. So tell us, how do we shift that? And we are doing that with women like you, with trainers like you, coaches like you, and with our practice, we are shifting. But how can we move that to
every time you're saying sorry, try and say thank you. So imagine someone invites you to a party, go, oh, I'm so sorry I can't come. So say, thank you for inviting me, but I have other commitments. If someone says, hey, could you look after my kids all weekend? Oh, I'm sorry, I'm busy. What are you doing? Oh, I can help you. I could just bring them for a couple of hours.
You're saying the words have power. We have to change the language.
Because when you say, so could you lend me some money? Sorry, I haven't got any. Well, could you put it on your card? I'll give it you back later. You see, when you say sorry, I can't babysit your kids, but I wish I could, but I can't. Then someone knows, oh, you wish you could, but you can't. Let me help you out here by changing the offer. Could you just have them 4 hours instead of 8? I could bring them and I could pick them up. You could come to them, they'll get into it. Can I borrow your car? It hasn't got any petrol. I'll fill it up. So when you say, sorry, I wish I could, but I can't, people can manipulate. When you say, thank you so much for the invitation, I'm busy, I have another commitment, it's different. So when people say, could you come to my event? Oh, I'm so sorry, I'd love to, but well, what are you doing on that day? Can't you change it? And it's our fault for saying, I'm so, when we don't even mean it. You see, sorry should be, when I've done it, I'm so sorry I forgot your birthday. I feel so bad that I didn't make your party, is different. You should apologize. But when you're saying, I'm sorry, I don't know why I can't understand how this computer works. I'm so sorry. I'm such an idiot with IT. I can't make this button come on. You just say, my gift is not IT. I'm an amazing chef, but I'm not great at IT. How lucky I've got you, and it's your gift. Thank you for helping me. Because in that way, you're giving someone else a lot of praise without making yourself apologize for everything. And so, people don't want you to be sorry. They want you to be grateful. So don't say, I'm sorry, I'm late. Say, the traffic was terrible. I'm so lucky I got a friend like you. I knew you'd wait. It's so lovely that you waited for me. I really appreciate that. That elevates you and them. You're elevating their friendship, but yourself, and saying, my friends understand. So that's what you do. There's many things you can do to grow yourselves. And here's my favorite. You might say, I've got all these little bracelets that say, I'm enough. If you want to change your life on a dime, write it on your mirror, write it on your fridge, write it on your arm, print it on your pants if you want to. One of my friends has put it on her pillow. It's the last thing and the first thing her children see every day. And every day say, I'm enough, state it, affirm it, embody it, own it. Because the common denominator of everyone's issues, as I found as a therapist, the common issue that we all have is our not enoughness. I'm not good enough, beautiful enough, tall enough, smart enough, interesting enough, qualified enough, worthy enough. If that's the common thing that runs our issues, and it certainly does, because if you think about alcoholism, drug addiction, shopping addiction, needing more followers, when you're not enough, you need more food, more cake, more stuff, more praise. But when you are enough, you feel very content. You can still go for more, but because you feel worthy of it. So I would say the thing that changed my life and millions of my clients is to go from I'm not enough to, hey, I'm enough. So are you, by the way. We're all enough. I'm enough. And when I know I'm enough, I can invite everyone else to see my enoughness rather than seeing my not enoughness, which is what happens when you keep saying you're sorry, or people say, you look great. Yeah, but you see, I've got big feet, or don't you notice that I've got, I'm a bit overweight here, or I'm top heavy, or this doesn't look quite. We actually tell them what's wrong with us. Hey, I love that coat. I've had it for 5 years, got it in a charity shop. Hey, you look great in that. Really, I've just gained 10 pounds. You look so much, my hair's filthy. I love that project. Didn't you see it, the flawed bit? No, I hear you're the best speaker in your office. Oh no, the best one was sick. I just won the prize because he was away that week. So we're very happy to know what's wrong with us. We should know what's right with us. I'm enough. How are you today? I'm amazing. How are you? Wonderful. Don't go, how am I? Not bad. All right. And you say, I'm amazing. I'm fantastic. I'm so happy. What about you?
So these are powerful mantras that we should, and affirmations that we should kind of remind ourselves all day long.